Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Bissell. We have finished our topic 8 on multiplying fractions. Today, we're going to do a quick video review lesson, and then I'm going to let you move on to your assignment, which is in our quizzes app through our class link locker. So let's start talking about what I'm showing you on screen. So we had a lot of models before we actually worked with the algorithms. And what the models were trying to get us to understand conceptually is that unlike whole numbers, where we multiply two factors that have a value greater than 1, when we multiply those two factors, we get a product that is greater than both of the factors. So if you were to multiply, let's say 2 times 4, you get the product of 8. But it works differently when you multiply fractions. So let's talk about those. So when we were working with just solely the fractions times a fraction, what you notice is that you are going to get a product that is less than each of the factors. So find the smallest factor in your expression, which in this case would be 1/4. So what I know is that my product should be less than 1/4. Okay? And it is. It's 1/8. I wrote it out. I did the algorithm for us. And then I actually drew the models to show that. All right, so if you have that understanding that when you multiply a fraction times a fraction, since both of those numbers represent something less than 1 whole, your answer is going to be less than 1 whole, and it's going to be less than the smallest factor. All right, so let's go back and just go through the lessons. The first thing we did was we multiplied a whole number times a fraction. So let's look at 7 times 2, 6. And what we learned is that we turn whole numbers into fractions by making the whole number the numerator, the denominator 1. And you guys know from this improper fraction that when we divide it out, we get 7 wholes. So that's why that works. And then we multiply it times 2, 6. So the algorithm for multiplying fractions is you multiply the numerator times the numerator. So 7 times 2 is 14. 1 times 6 is 6. We get an improper fraction answer. So we divide. I know that 6 goes into 14 2 whole times. That gives me 12. 2 would be left over. So I would have 2 out of 6 left over. So I get the mixed number as my answer, 2 and 2, 6. The only thing I have to do is look to see if the mixed number simplifies. It does. I can simplify it by 2 halves, and just a walk down memory lane, what we're doing is we're simplifying numbers by a form of 1. So we are basically scaling down to get the final product of 2 and 1/3. So when we multiply 7 times 2, 6, the final answer is 2 and 1/3. All right, let's take a look at another example. We moved on and then we did a fraction times a whole number. So you might have had like 1/3 times 8. It's the same thing because of the commutative property of multiplication. We just have the factor 1/3, the fraction first and the whole number second, but it's going to be worked the same way. So we would do 1/3 times 8/1. That's how we make that whole number 8 a fraction. We multiply numerator times numerator. 1 times 8 is 8. Then we multiply denominator times denominator. 3 times 1 is 3. Improper fractions, we divide. We always divide by the denominator. So 3 goes into 8. It's going to go 2 times. 2 times 3, 6. So I have 2 left over out of 3. So I get 2 and 2/3. I know that this is not going to simplify. 2 is a prime number. We don't use 1, and I know that 3 is not divisible by 2. So this answer is 2 and 2/3. Okay? Now, I did introduce something called using cancellation to cross-reduce so that you're not working with such big numbers. So I'm just going to pick the problem here, 11/12 times 2. And we know we would set that up as 11/12 times 2/1 If we don't cross reduce when we have an option to do so, it's okay. We're just going to get larger numbers in our product that we're going to have to work with on simplifying to lowest term. And sometimes you guys don't see that the numbers have common factors because they're relatively large numbers that we don't work with very well. So what you do is you pick any numerator and any denominator. In this case, I'm looking at 2 and 12, and I see that it has a common factor. Both numbers are divisible by 2. So I'm going to cancel them out, and I'm going to simplify them by dividing by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. And now I have a new smaller numerator and denominator. So when I multiply, I get 11 times 1 is 11, and 6 times 1 is 6. And then I can divide 6 goes into 11 one time. That gives me 6. I have 5 more. That would be my remainder out of 6. Some of you still may need to slide out to the side or on scratch paper to do your division. Most of you have some really good number sense and can do that in your head. So you've got to do what works for you. So here we used cancellation. All right. The next thing we moved to was a fraction times a fraction. So let's take a look at this problem. 1/3 times let's do 4/5. All right. First thing I'm going to do, I already have 2 fractions, so I'm ready to multiply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, but I'm going to look to see if any of my numerators will simplify with any of the denominators. 1 and 5 will not. That's already as simple as it's going to get, and 3 and 4 don't share a common factor. So I'm ready to multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 5 is 15. I'm looking to see if this will simplify. The only factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. We don't use 1 to simplify. We'd end up with the same product, but we need to consider, will 2 or 4 be a factor of 15? And neither one are. So this is in simplest form. All right, let's take a look at 2/4 times 2/3. 2 fractions. We can just go ahead and straight multiply, but I always like to see, is there any way I can use cancellation and get some smaller numerators and denominators here? I see that 2 and 3 do not share a common factor other than 1, and 2 and 4 actually share a common factor. Since they're both even, we know they're both divisible by 2, so the factor's 2, so I cancel them out. 2 divided by that common factor of 2 is 1. 4 divided by the common factor of 2 is 2. And now when I multiply, I get 2, 6. And then I take a look at that product and I see if it will simplify. Yes, they're both even. The common factor is 2. So we're going to simplify by 2/2. And just to take a walk down memory lane, we are scaling down by a form of 1. So that's how we keep an equivalent fraction. The numerator and denominator are divided by the same common factor. So I get 1/3 when I divide 2 by 2 and 6 by 2. And that is in simplest form. It's a unit fraction, so I don't even have to think about it. All right. Now, I want to look at a problem such as 2/9 times 3/4. So 2/9 times 3/4. Again, you could just get right in there, multiply the numerator times the numerator, the denominator times the denominator, but I like using that cancellation, all right, and cross-reducing these numerators and denominators. So I know right away that 2 and 4 will cancel out. The common factor is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then I look at 3 and 9, and what do you know? This is the first time I have another numerator and denominator that will simplify. 3 and 9 are both divisible by the common factor 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So when I multiply, I get the answer. Let's see, 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. I get 1/6. Now, if you did not use the cancellation to cross-reduce, look at how you would work that problem. You would do a little bit more work, little larger numbers. All right, so you would be saying that 2 times 3 gives you a numerator of 6 in the product, and 9 times 4 gives you a denominator of 36. And then what you have to do is find the common factor. So if you're really good with your math facts, you know that the greatest common factor is 6. So both numbers are divisible by 6. So they're both divisible by a form of 1, and that simplifies to 1/6. So you will get the correct answer in simplest terms. You just have to make sure you're doing your simplifying of your answer. All right, now let's move on. You guys had another concept. After we multiplied fractions, we looked at multiplying mixed numbers. So don't forget, mixed numbers actually have a value greater than 1. So let's take a look at, let's see, 2 1/5. Let's start with it, times 5 5/8. All right. Now, we can't multiply these numbers, these mixed numbers, as they are. You can't jump in there and multiply the 2 and the 5 and then multiply the 1/5 times the 5/8. These are each one number. And if you do that, then you're changing the values of your numbers. So you have a number that's a little greater than 2, and then you have a number that's really close to 5.5 that you're multiplying. What we need to do is convert them to improper fractions. So we use these little markings, and we learned about that. 2 1/5. What we have 5 wholes that are divided into halves. That gives me 10, and one more fifth in another. No, I'm sorry. We have 2 wholes that are divided by fifths. So that's where we get 10 fifths, and then we have 1/5 to add to it. So we realize that what that does is we can use an algorithm to convert it. I'm sorry, I'm not making sense right there. Lost my train of thought. So what I get is 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 more is 11. So I have 11 fifths. All right. And here we have 5 wholes that are broken into eighths. So that gives us 40 1/8 parts, plus this other 5/8 is where I get 45/8. But if you use the algorithm, you don't have to draw it. You don't have to really think about it. You just multiply your denominator, your eighths, by the 5 wholes and add 5. So 8 times 5 is 40, plus 5 is 45/8. All right, I am going to get some super big numbers here just because of the fact that I would have to go out to the side and multiply 11 times 45 right now. I'm thinking I can simplify. I know 11 and 8 will not simplify. 11's a prime number. Its only factors are 1 and 11. That doesn't work with 8. So 5 and 45 both end in the number 5. So I know they're both divisible by 5. So let's cancel out and cross reduce. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 45 divided by 5 is 9. Now I know I can multiply without needing to step out to some scratch paper, because I know 11 times 9, the two numerators give me 99, and 1 times 8 is 8. Much easier that way. Now that improper fraction, I can work out to the side. I can do this in my head. I know that 8 is going to go into 99 12 times. Okay. And then that gives me 96. And then I have 3 left over. 96 from 99 is 3. So I have 12 and 3/8. 3 and 8 will not simplify. There's no common factor other than 1. So there's my answer. So I start out with 2 mixed numbers. I convert them to improper fractions. I then get an improper fraction number that I convert back through division to a mixed or a whole number. All right, let's take a look at another one. Let's look at 5 2/3. Another mixed number times another mixed number. So 5 2/3 times 4 2/4. Okay, so again, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to convert these mixed numbers to improper fractions. So 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 more is 17/3, times 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18 fourths. All right. Now, I'm looking to see if there's anything I can cross-reduce because that's some pretty big numbers here. 3 and 18 are the only ones that I see because 17 is a prime number. Its only factors are 1 and 17. 1 and 17. All right, so the common factor of 3 and 18 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 18 divided by 3 is 6. All right, now I am going to have to go out to the side and multiply. So just somewhere on your paper, 17 times 6 is 42. 6 times 1, 6, plus 4 more is 10. So I get 102 for my numerator, fourths. All right, so that product is now going to have to be converted to a whole or mixed number. And again, I'm going to have to do that one out to the side. So I know that 4 will focus, it will divide it into 10 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. We subtract, get a 2. That's less than our divisor. We're looking good. All right, 4 goes into 28. It's going to go 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. We subtract, we get a 2. That's less than our divisor. So I get 25 and 2 fourths. Okay, and then I take a look at the fraction part. It is going to simplify. The common factor of 2 and 4 is 2. And again, if you take a good look at it, we're just scaling down by a form of 1. So we're going to keep an equivalent fraction, and we get 25 and 1/2. Okay. All right. And then let's just take care of, let's just look at one more scenario. So maybe you would have a mixed number times a whole number. All right, so I don't think the book covered this, but I think you know what to do from your previous lessons. The mixed number, boys and girls, needs to become an improper fraction. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 more is 11 fourths. And then your whole number, what did we do with it in lessons 1, 2, and 3? That's right, we wrote the fractional form of it by putting it over 1. This one right here, we're going to be able to cancel out. 4 is the common factor. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So I now get 11 over 1, which gives me the whole number answer of 11. So 2 and 3 fourths times 4 is 11. All right, if you need to go back and look at any of these, you can rewind, but we're going to do a, whoops, misspelled it. We're going to do a quizzes assignment. So your quizzes game code that you need is 0, 8, 6, 6, 2, 0. All right, check that again. 0, 8, 6, 6, 2, 0. I only am allowing you one attempt. Now, let me just show you how to get to quizzes real quick. You're going to go into your ClassLink account. You guys have less apps than me, but look for your quizzes. Make sure you're not going into Quizlet. You're going into quizzes. All right. And when you go in, you're going to enter your game code. Okay. All right. Let me get back into here. Sorry. All right. So again, make sure you write down that quizzes game code 086620. You only have one attempt. I highly suggest you have paper out. You work out the problems. You're not just guessing and checking. You're going to want to do your best to show that you have mastered multiplying fractions so that we can move on. All right. Good luck, and I will see you tomorrow.